Hello everyone, DM Gashbad here. I've got something good again for you today. Last weekend, Memorial Day weekend, I went down to KublaCon. It is a game convention in San Francisco, and they are having a Batman miniature game tournament. So I went down there. It's being run by our local sidekick. So I got a little bit of an in, I painted some more terrain, I brought down my stuff, and yeah, I'm going to give you those reports starting right now. Now, I've got some good news and some bad news about this event. First off, the bad news is that it was sort of poorly attended. We had a couple people sign up, but fully half of them didn't show up for one reason or the other. Some we knew why, some we didn't. But in the event, there were only 3 of us that actually got to play, which is really kind of a shame. So the tournament organizer, Tony, the sidekick from Northern California, he steps in, he plays the ringer. We are going to get the full 3 games, which is good. They were 3 great games. I really enjoyed myself. Listen, if you're on the fence about whether you're going to attend a tournament like this or not, let me encourage you to do it. And this isn't necessarily me saying come on down and play a game because I want to have more people to play with, although that is certainly true. But it's beyond being fun events and that kind of thing. So far, the prize support for these tournaments has been amazing. So even though I went down and I had to pay $50 to attend the event, which is, you know, I mean, that's pretty typical as far as you can tell. And I had to pay a shocking amount for parking, which was really rough. And then, you know, food and gas and all that kind of thing. The prize support was so much that I actually think I came out ahead. Night Models has been very generous about their prize support. The tournament itself threw down some things, and TT Combat was part of the thing as well. So I don't know how it is around where your local events are, but consider attending just to get a chunk of that prize support, because until these things start really kind of filling up with people, the people that do attend are just, I feel like we're just getting away with it. So anyway, do consider going to these events in the future. Another nice thing about this particular tournament at KublaCon is it is the first of the first ever Gotham City Circuit. So this is something that the sidekicks in the California area have come up with. That would be Tony, who's running this event, and Donovan Stouter, who you may know as the host of the Little Gotham podcast. So they're setting up a series of tournaments, 3 tournaments in California, different areas, one down south, one in the Bay Area, one up north. And they're all going to lead up to the California Batman Miniature Game Championship in Sacramento, which should be like in November. Anyway, this is the first one. This is the first year that the Gotham City Circuit is in existence. So, the winner of this tournament gets, some benefits to the rest of the tournaments. I think they get free admission to the championship, you know. So, it's nice. So, Gotham City Circuit, look for it where you work or bank. So the first thing I have to decide is what crew I'm going to bring to the event. Now, I've been having some success with my militia crew, I've been having some success with my Mr. Freeze crew, but I actually haven't played the crew that got me into this game in the first place. So I'm going to go all the way back, and I'm going to bring out my TV Arrow crew. It's almost the same as what I started off with. I'm going to have Arrow from the TV show. I just really like that TV show. This last season was maybe a little weaker than some of the others, but they still had some great episodes. Didn't give him the tactical gloves. They're great, you know, they're only 50 funding, and it gives him double stun. It gives him the reinforced gloves rule, which I think is a really nice thing for him to have, but I just couldn't fit into this list. You'll find out why in a second. Next up is TV's Flash. He's pretty self-explanatory. I also painted up a couple new guys for the Brave and the Bold crew, a couple Arkham guards, a couple more cops, that kind of thing. So I'm going to try out some different stuff. So I'm going to swap out some of my henchmen. I've got the quick response team number 1. He's the guy with the riot gun, the beanbag gun. So I'm going to try him out. I'm going to try out Arkham Guard 3. Again, he's got a riot gun. So they're kind of very similar there. A lot of people have been having success with these guys. I can see why. Their funding is really low. They have a ranged weapon that gives a lot of ranged threats. It's double stun, but still, it's a good rate of fire. They also have a selection of skills that are pretty handy. And I took the Gotham Policeman. He's really cheap. My crew is kind of small. I want more bodies on the field. I gave him a whistle because whistles are amazing. Quick note, the new FAQ just came out like the Friday before the event. So we are going to use that. So I'm really happy about the crew that I took because I've got 2 whistles in here, and now whistles can shut down magic users. So if I was worried about magic, this is another tool to help me deal with that. Finally, I have Spartan, John Diggle. Now, this guy's a little bit unusual. The thing with equipment, about buying equipment for your crews, generally speaking, is that the better the henchman is, the more utility you're going to get out of the equipment that you get. So Diggle is a really good henchman. He's 60 rep, but he's got a lot of really good skills and some good numbers in his stats. And so I've really been looking forward to absolutely kitting him out. So I gave him riot gear, which gives him the football gear rule, which makes him immune to both heavy and sharp. That combined with his Kevlar vest means he's going to be able to take a lot of damage. He's endurance 7, he's going to always take 1 less damage than he normally would, and he's going to be immune to heavy and sharp. Add to that, I give him the grapple gun just to get him where he wants to go. He's only got a movement of 2, so this is really going to help him. I gave him the whistle. The whistle combined with his handgun, which is a really good gun. I'm a really big fan of handguns. Plus the fact that he's a master marksman means that acrobats, people who can dodge, people with high defenses are going to have a much harder time coming into contact with Diggle. Plus the handguns now have the light rule, so it means even if they charge him, they run in, he's probably going to be able to survive all that because of all his equipment and his high endurance. And then he can whistle and he can shoot in combat with his full rate of fire. So I'm really confident about this guy. And on top of that, I also gave him a magazine. I gave him an extra ammo for his handgun. So that brings him up to 3. And so he has fully 1,100 of my 1,500 funding. So people were shocked at that. I can do that because I have those riot guns. I'm not spending much of the money anywhere else. My first round opponent dubbed him the SS Diggle because he's kitted out like a battleship. And I love that. I'm going to call him the SS Diggle from time to time in these battle reports. So I'm a big fan of that. Not only that, I think this crew, now I did think about taking the Nth Medallion and all that because I am worried about magic. I've never faced it before. And, you know, the stories are, oh, tournaments, they're going to have harder lists. And so you expect the Constantines and this, that, and the other. So, but I'm not terrified of it. Flash and Arrow both have high defenses, and they both have the ability to dodge. The damage-dealing spells shouldn't be too bad. And as I said before, Diggle with his whistle and with just the ability to absorb damage, especially that Kevlar vest. You know, if someone comes in with 5 attacks and, you know, drops a pile of wounds on Diggle, then those Kevlar vests aren't going to really do that much damage. But if, say, a magician comes in and they do one spell that does 2 damage and they do another spell that does 2 damage, then he's going to take a damage away from each of those shots. So he's actually going to do fairly well. So I've got 3 models that are pretty good against magic, in my opinion. This is all just theory. I haven't actually played this out. And then I have an additional whistle on top of that. So I feel like I may well be able to deal with magic. Plus, it's shooting heavy. So, you know, I don't got to deal with John Constantine's charm and all that kind of stuff. So, anyway, we'll see how it goes. So, it's the first game of the tournament, and we are doing the Race for Glory scenario, which I'm really excited about because I haven't actually played this scenario before, but it looks like a lot of fun. That's the one where you and your opponent are both on the same table edge in different corners, and your objectives are all on the opposite table edge, kind of in swapped positions. So you kind of have to make an X to run across the board and get these objectives. And so I'm really excited about how this is going to go. My opponent is a guy named Lance. He's from Las Vegas. It's great of him to make the trip. He brought down the terrain that you're looking at right now. And he's coming with a League of Shadows crew. Excuse me, League of Assassins now. And I say, hey, League of Assassins, that's cool. I was listening to, again, Little Gotham podcast, and I hear that they just won a tournament down south. And he's like, yeah, that was me. So he apparently is a bit of a fixture on the Batman miniature game tournament scene, and he's been winning a lot of tournaments. And as a condition of a tournament that he ran, I believe, the winner of that tournament got to choose what crew he played in his next tournament. And at the time, I think the thinking was that the League of the League of Assassins is the most challenging crew to play. So they had him play that. And then they released the new Ras al Ghul and the new League of Assassins starter set, and he came in with that, and he cleaned up down south, and he won that tournament anyway. And so he's going to try and continue that over here. Anyway, the point is, I guess he knows what he's doing. He's had a lot of success. He runs the tournaments in the Las Vegas area, and so I'm probably going to get my face stomped in over here. On the plus side, as I was pulling out my terrain for one of the tables next to the one that we're playing on, he says, "Hey, aren't you that DM something or other, the guy from YouTube?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." So he recognized me, so that's kind of always nice. You know, like I said, there's really only like 200 people in the world that watch these videos, and so to run into one of those is, you know, it makes me feel good. He said my voice sounded familiar. He couldn't quite pick it out. And again, I apologized for my voice because it doesn't sound great. But he did recognize my terrain, which is what most people do. Anyway, side note, back to the game. For his list, he took the new Ras al Ghul, the rebirth one, the one from the new Resin starter pack. He also took Goro, which I think is a really good addition to that group. He's the big samurai guy with the kill them and all that. He took Ichi, which is the new katana wielder ninja. He took Ki, which is the guy with the bow with precise aim with the, like, what is it? Not the poison arrow, the acid arrow or something like that. He took Yin and Yang. Those are two katana ninjas, one better than the other. He took Seeker. That's the guy with the bow. I really like him. He's got the poison arrow. And he took Shadow. He's got the staff and the smoke bomb. Here is the table after everything has been set up. The edge at the bottom is the one with all our objectives. He's got medical supplies and ammo and a Titan. I've got medical supplies and ammo and 2 riddles. I have something in particular in mind for those riddles in case you're curious about that. So we're deployed over on the opposite edges, but he has a ton of stuff that's sneaking forward, is completely appropriate for ninjas. The new Ras al Ghul gives him a ton of strategy points, and this is nice because I haven't used strategy points in a while. So the first thing that I took the same strategies every single game. Part of the reason is because the new PDFs that came out, I went and I printed them out and I replaced them with my old stuff, all nice. And it wasn't until later that I realized that the new PDFs don't have all of the strategies. So I just had the basic ones, which is fine. I think that's mostly what I take. But anyway, I stuck pretty basic. I took Fast Advance because it's great, and I took Maps to give myself some extra streetlights. Now, he also took Fast Advance, so both of those cancel each other out. Also, we realized later that Ras has Exhaustive Planner, which cancels out one of my strategies. Now, he probably would have rather canceled out Fast Advance and let him get that, but we had already deployed everything by the time that we realized that, so we just took off a couple of my streetlights, and it worked out fine. I'm not exactly sure all the strategies that he took. He probably gave some of his guys hidden or something like that. I know he put an objective trap on my ammo. I don't remember absolutely everything. Anyway, let's go into the deployment. Here we have my deployment. Now I got to choose my deployment zone, so there's really not much excuse for this. I thought that this was going to give me the best options moving forward, but I didn't measure it real well, and so that taxi is just right in my way and causing me a lot of problems. Also, there's a street light right there, so my guys are really, really visible from Seeker, who's up on the building across the street. So that's why my guys are all spread out like that, because I got to move around that taxi, and I'm trying to keep some guys out of the light and all kinds of things. So I kind of messed up. If I had measured or thought about it a little bit more carefully, this could have been better. So we see Arkham Guard. That's Arkham Guard 3 over there on the left. That's QRT 1 sort of by the front of the taxi. Arrow's right in the center behind the cab. Flash is up on the roof of the taxi. The SS Diggle is pulled up behind the taxi, and Gotham Policeman is way over there on the side. He's looking at that sewer. And here is Goro. Goro has gotten hidden or something like that, either through a strategy or piece of equipment. So he is right by his objectives. There are bonus points for controlling one of the objectives first, and it's going to be real hard. Well, it's going to be impossible for me to keep him from getting his objectives. The best I can hope for is to also get one of my objectives so that we cancel out those victory points. And right across from Goro, we have Ki with his bow. He's also snuck forward, and he's ready to grab objectives as well. Here's my opponent's deployment zone. You see Seeker, he's gotten undercover, and so he has stealthily crept up on that roof there. You can see over on the left, Shadow has done the same thing. And then we've got Ras al Ghul and a bunch of the ninjas. We've got Ying, Yang, and Ichi all set to storm forward. So my idea in this game is we've got this kind of central area, you know, where the streets intersect. And so I'm hoping my guys, Arrow, Diggle, and the guys with the riot guns can kind of take position in that center area and just start blasting away with their ranged attacks and really cause havoc to his main guys moving through. We'll see how that works out. So it's the first turn, and we put the counters in the bag, and Ras al Ghul gets an extra one because of, I don't know, Mastermind or something like that. Anyway, but I draw my counter first. So, okay, I get to go first. Normally I don't want to do that for the first turn. I'd rather have my opponent commit, but I am kind of stuck a little bit with that lamppost and with all those guys right there. So I am going to take the first turn. So first thing though is the Speed Force phase, and Barry Allen has to get moving. He's my guy to go get those objectives. He's the best shot that I have. So he's going to use Super Speed level 1, Super Speed level 2. He's going to move right on through there. There's another lamppost sort of positioned in a bad place. I don't really know what I was thinking with these lampposts. They're causing me way more problems than my opponent. So he is completely visible. There's an archer up there on the roof. But I'm not too worried about it right now. If anyone's going to take a shot and from a bow and be just fine, Barry Allen with his defensive 5 and with all the counters in the world piled into movement. So for the time, I'm not too concerned. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to activate Arrow. So my leader is going to go first. I'm going to inspire all my guys. I want them to just get moving. I want those henchmen to get those movement counters to get them out of that little kill zone that I've managed to deploy myself into. And I'm going to activate my hook arrow, and I'm going to zip far forward. So this is kind of across that central square area. It's I think I have my back turned towards my opponent's objectives, so they're sort of off to the right. I've moved a really long distance. My opponent was not expecting this. I'm not sure what I don't know. I don't know if he thought that it was going to cause him problems or if it just seemed a little unusual, like why is Arrow not sticking with his troops? But this is what he did, and so yeah, he's done. Next up, it's my opponent's activation. He takes Shadow, and he's going to creep along back behind those buildings. It looks like he's going to try and contest some of my objectives with that guy later on. Activate Diggle next. So he marches forward, uses that reach taser of his to go and zap that streetlight, just overload the circuits on that and take that out. That helps me a little bit. Keeps my guys a little bit safer moving forward. Next, he's going to do much the same thing. So he's going to activate Yang. Yang is the guy with the katanas. He's got combo with katanas. He's got a lot of attacks. He's going to move forward, and he's going to attack that street lamp right there. He manages to not destroy it. He attacks a bunch of times, but, strength of 5 with rerolls doesn't always get you the hits that you want. So that's bad luck for him. He should have been able to get it. But so right now he's a little bit of he's illuminated, and it may cause him some problems later on, but he's not in any immediate danger. Activate QRT-1 next. He can see that Yang guy who did not destroy that street lamp. I can take a shot at him if I like. I decide it's probably not worth it. It's just a single shot, double stun. There's going to be pings. So I decided to save the ammo. Next, Ying moves up. He is the ninja who is not as good as Ichi and Yang. So he's going to come up. He's going to take a swing at that lamppost. He's going to finish the job that Yang started. He also fails to destroy that lamppost. So a bunch of attacks come in, a bunch of rerollable 5s to chop that thing down, and nothing. The lampposts are really well made. So I go and pass. I've got a couple of passes. He's got way more ninjas than me. And so Ichi moves up. So this is 3 ninjas ganging up on that lamppost. Ichi's able to do the job. Finally that thing topples over, but not a great start for the dice on my opponent's side of the table. I'm going to go ahead and pass again. I want him to commit a little bit before I start sending out more guys. Key moves up around that building, and sure enough, he's going to claim those medical supplies, and he's going to crouch. All right, I'm going to move my guys a little bit forward. My QRTs and my Arkham guards are just going to use Diggle as like a a shield in front of them. I kind of feel that Diggle might have the immune to ninjas rule. I'm really confident that he's got what it takes to survive a bunch of hits from ninja. He's immune to sharp. He's got a lot of endurance. He's got that handgun. He's got that whistle. I'm pretty confident that if a bunch of ninjas swarm him, Diggle is going to be okay. I am not that confident about my cops. The Arkham Guard does have the hockey gear rule, so he is immune to the sharp rule as well, but they don't have anywhere near the endurance. So they're going to hang back a little bit and see if they can get their riot guns in action while the ninjas are trying to beat up Diggle. Next activation, my opponent goes and activates Goro. Goro, I went and double checked to see how much movement he had before I moved Arrow, so I knew he wasn't going to come out and start slashing up Oliver Queen with that giant sword of his. He is just there to grab that objective, which he happily does. Gotham Policeman goes, and like I said, he went and used the sewer. So he has popped out. He's looking over down the alleyway at my objectives. He's obviously not going to get there now, but he certainly can in the next turn. Okay, here comes Seeker. Seeker with his bow is going to move forward, and he's got some choices as to who he wants to shoot. He's got the Gotham Policeman over there who's looking to grab those objectives. He's got Flash. He may even be able to, if he moves far enough, get a shot on Diggle. But he's going to go and shoot at Barry Allen. He's going to shoot at the Flash. Now, normally I would say that's a terrible idea because Flash is never going to get hurt by that arrow. And he's even going to use his one poison arrow. He didn't take the extra ammo on Seeker. So normally I would say that's a bad idea because that's not going to have much effect. But here's the deal. He's looking to get him bonus victory points if I don't control any of my objectives this round. And Flash is the only person that's in any position to do that. And I am far away. So the idea is if he gets lucky and gets that paralyzed arrow off, or even if he doesn't and I expend enough dice to dodge it, then I am not going to reach those objectives and he is going to get a bunch of victory points. So really he doesn't need much. All he needs is a hit. And even then, my defense 5, he's got good aim. So he spends his special, which he has to because he's got to move in order to get within 12 inches so he can see Barry Allen now that Diggle zapped that lamppost. And so all he needs is a 4+. But he fails. He doesn't hit. I don't need to roll my dodge, and so Barry Allen is just fine and can continue on his merry way. No sense in holding back now. Barry Allen is going to zip forward. Now, a couple of my guys have really gained a lot from the new edition of the rules. Barry Allen is one of them because now he can use as many powers as he likes in a turn, whereas before he could only use 2. And not only that, Speed Force Master now lets him use unused Speed Force counters as action counters. So I can use 4 movement counters and then 2 Speed Force counters to really put on a lot of speed. And so I tear across the battlefield and I get into contact with my own ammo objective, which is nice. Now, that is the one with the objective trap, so it explodes when Barry comes up to it, but he is the Flash. He makes his movement check easily and doesn't take any damage. And then finally, Ras just creeps forward around that corner there and crouches. So at the end of the round, nobody's hurt. My opponent has scored 6 victory points. I have only scored 3, but I have kept him from getting those bonus victory points. So there's still plenty of game left here. We'll see what happens in round 2. We go to the Bag of Destiny, we draw out a new counter, and against all probability, because like I said, Ras al Ghul has put another counter of his in that bag, I get to activate first. I take the lead again. So that is great news. The first thing that happens though, of course, is we go to the Speed Force phase. Now, I told you that I had a particular plan in mind with these riddles. This is it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Super Speed, 1, 2, maybe both, in order to go up to these riddle objectives. Barry Allen has Detective. I'm going to get 2 dice to roll against him. So my goal here is I'm going to use the Speed Force phase to move into contact with these. Then when it's his activation, solves the riddle and moves back to the objectives, essentially scoring 2 objectives in the same round. So that is the plan. But here's the big thing about me taking the lead. Diggle has a whistle, and like I said, I'm not too worried about those ninjas, but I'm terrified of Ras al Ghul. That guy is just going to carve through everybody on that side of the board. And so Diggle's going to go ahead and he's going to move up and he's going to use his whistle on Ras al Ghul. Now, even with that reach and all that kind of stuff, Ras is not going to, I am not going to get within 6 inches of that guy. The master of the League of Assassins can just slowly walk towards me because that noise from that whistle is just too annoying. He doesn't see any reason not to take a shot at one of those ninjas hanging around there doing their vandalism. So he goes and shoots Ying, and he's going to hit, and he's going to cause a blood and a stun to that guy, just as a kind of, just to really rub salt in the wound. Well, Ying didn't care too much for that, so he's going to sprint forward, you know, as ninjas do, and he's going to take out that sword, and he's going to carve up Diggle. But again, as we said, he's got the riot gear, so Ying, no matter how many times he hits, he's only going to hurt Diggle on a 5 or a 6. And John Diggle's not worried about this. He takes absolutely no damage from this ninja. My Gotham policeman does not want to hang out near a ninja with a bow and arrow, so he's going to activate next, and he's going to go claim that ammo objective. Now that it's not going to explode, now that Barry Allen very nicely took that booby trap off of it. Probably by sticking his face in the ammo case and just outrunning the explosion. But hey, it worked. So Ichi's going to come up. Ichi's going to do a lot better than Ying here. Ichi's going to get a number of hits on John Diggle. He's going to land, he's going to wound with 2 of them, and he's going to get the crit for the extra damage and the knockdown. So even with the Kevlar vest, Diggle's going to take 3 blood and 1 stun and get knocked down. So that's not great. I am still very happy about what he's been able to do so far, but he's definitely hurt and not in a good position here because there is still one more ninja left to come up here, and it's not great being surrounded by ninjas and knocked down. So I go and pass here, and I'm not exactly sure why I did that, but my opponent says, hey, might as well take that opportunity. He's going to take his last ninja. Yang is going to run up and try to chop up poor Spartan lying there on the ground. Unfortunately, that 5-up is just not coming up for my opponent. So even though he's got these swords coming in, that Cisco Ramon made armor is doing real well for Spartan, and he takes no damage. QRT1, though, seeing that crowd of ninjas trying to stab his buddy, is not going to just sit around and watch that happen. He's going to fire his riot gun at Yang. He's going to hit once, he's going to damage once for 2 stun, and he's going to move over a little bit just underneath the marquee of that movie theater. And here is a mistake that I made. I forgot that Shadow has a smoke bomb, so my opponent does a really good thing here. Shadow's going to run around the side of that building, and he's going to lob that smoke bomb at Flash. Now, that's really bad news. So he only needs a 3+ to hit the point of ground, and then after that, Flash is not going to spend any movement counters. So that means not only is he probably not going to solve that riddle, but he may not be able to make it back to one of my objectives to score victory points this round. So with this one maneuver, my opponent can just shut down Flash scoring victory points for an entire round, which is a big deal. Unfortunately, my rolling over on this side of the board for my opponent is no better than his rolling on the other side of the board. He rolls a 1 or a 2, he misses with the smoke bomb, or it just, you know, Flash catches it and just runs it across town and then zips back again. Anyway, I have said before, me and speedsters, I just throw them out there and then I just get away with stuff. And this is another thing that I have gotten away with. Shadow does have an extra movement counter to solve the riddle. He does make an attempt. It's too tricky for him. He's, you know, who knows, language barrier, all that kind of thing. He's not able to figure out Enigma's thing. He doesn't get any victory points, but nothing bad happens to him. Well, Flash, going to take advantage of his good luck here. He's going to solve that riddle. He's going to get his 2 victory points, and he's going to move over to the meds. So that's, you know, that's going to net me 5 victory points this round. That's super lucky. I'm odds were he's going to hit with that smoke bomb. It was a good maneuver. But hey, you know, dice is dice. So, and I'm going to take it. So you go, Barry Allen. Well, Key doesn't love that. He can see Flash from over there, so he's going to take a shot at him, you know. Unfortunately, the shot does hit, which is great. Key has precise aim, but I do get a ping, and the arrow is pinged away, so Barry Allen's not too worried. Ras, he's whistled, you know, just can't stand that sound of whistling, so he's going to slowly walk forward to that park bench there and try and encourage his ninja buddies to do better. Arkham Guard 3 is going to stay where he is. He doesn't want to get into the middle of that katanas, but he has got a nice clean shot to Yang over there. So he's going to open up on Yang and blast him into unconsciousness. Seeker cannot quite get far enough to draw a shot against Gotham Policeman, so he's only going to move across the edge of that building and he's going to crouch. And look at that base. He's probably going to have to crouch. He's probably clinging to the side of that thing. So finally, I have Oliver Queen. Oliver Queen is going to activate. Now, I can't see Key because Key has stealth. On the plus side, Oliver Queen also has stealth, so we are out of range of each other. But I can see Goro. Goro is huge. Goro's hanging out there within 12 inches. He's not within 8 inches, which means that he's going to get pings. But then again, Goro is large, so he's going to get a -1 to all of his pings. So I got nothing better to do, and I got a ton of arrows I want to fire off. So Oliver Queen takes out his standard arrow and fires his multi-fire 3 shots at Goro. Twip, twip, twip. Not hard to imagine with good aim and master marksman. He's going to hit all 3 times. Unfortunately, Goro doesn't manage to ping any of those away. Like I said, he needs a 5 or 6 to do it. So it's not crazy odds, but still, it's not great for Goro. And then here comes the really bad news. Goro has light armor, so it's a -1 for me to damage. So I'm damaging on a 4+. And I managed to damage with all 3 shots, which is fabulous. And on top of that, I also get the crit. So I'm going to do 6 blood and 1 stone to Goro. He has 7 endurance. Oliver Queen just tags this guy in the face with 3 arrows and one-shots him into unconsciousness. This is a big deal. So now Goro cannot score points for that ammo objective that he's sitting on. I'm going to score a point for taking another henchman out into unconsciousness, and suddenly it's looking bad for the League of Assassins. But it's a new round, and with that new round comes the draw and the Bag of Destiny to take the lead. Now, I have 1 counter in there, and my opponent has 4, so it is extremely unlikely that I'm going to be able to get the jump on these ninjas this round. But guess what? Guess whose counter is pulled yet again? Team Arrow gets to go first beyond all luck or probability. Listen, I've said over and over again, my luck with this game is shocking, really, and I will freely admit that. So 3 pulls in a row. I get 3 take the leads in a row against Ras al Ghul in the League of Assassins. So anyway, first up is the Speed Force phase. Barry Allen can't go and solve that riddle anymore, but he can sure go over and beat up Shadow. So he's going to go and use his Super Speed level 1, Super Speed level 2, and he's going to get his muscle growth and fast combo. We're going to see how much this guy likes being punched a million times by a speedster. And here's the big thing about me getting to go first, because guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the same thing I did last round, only I'm going to shoot more often. Diggle is going to whistle Ras al Ghul. I am going to fire my handgun point blank range at which guy? At Ying. Ying is going to get KO'd. There's not much escape from that. Diggle is also a master marksman. Ninjas do not like getting shot. And then I'm just going to, of course, I had to get up in order to do that, which is fine. And then I'm just going to back away a little bit, make sure I'm outside of Raz's sword range. And so this is looking rough. So I just KO'd another guy. There's another victory point. Diggle goes safe. Ras al Ghul is not going to sword anyone again this round, and he's going to just be crawling around. This side of the table has turned. It is looking nasty for my opponent. Now, I don't have a picture of this. The next activation for my opponent is going to be Shadow. So Shadow's the guy with the staff and the smoke bomb who is fighting Flash. So Shadow wants to go and try and beat up Flash a little bit. That's not going to happen. He's going to miss with all of his attacks. That's not terribly surprising. But he's going to just hop away a little bit. He's just going to move off. And that means that Flash now has a choice. He can either go and chase down Shadow to beat him up, or he can go back and get those objectives. He's almost certainly going to go back and get the objectives. So Shadow just kind of saved himself a little bit by just warding Barry Allen away with his stick. Anyway, back to this side of the table. I'm going to activate QRT-1. QRT-1 is going to go and fire at Ichi. He's only going to manage to do 2 stun, which is still really good against these defense 4 ninjas. But hey, that means Ichi has to drop another die, and it all helps. Ichi is the only ninja over there that is still standing, so he's going to activate. He's going to try and get John Diggle. He might be the only one that he can reach. John Diggle did manage to recover a stun last round, so he's only down 3 blood. But you never know. Ichi could do it, but he does not. He ends up with no damage against John Diggle. My opponent's dice have done almost nothing. Like almost zero. They are ice cold. He gets plenty of rerolls, but nothing is coming up for him. I'm still worried about that ninja over there with the bow, so I'm going to take Gotham Policeman. He's going to just move a little bit around that ammo container, and he's going to crouch. Ras al Ghul is just trying to make stuff happen. He's trying to get into it. He's going to move forward, but that whistle is just so annoying. It's hard to make your glorious charge with your sword when you're covering your ears. The next person to move is Arkham Guard number 3. Arkham Guard number 3, he's sees this ninja trying to sword Diggle, and we're not going to take that. He fires a full blast of beanbags into the back of that guy. Wouldn't you know it, hits plenty of times, does all the stun in the world to KO that guy, and he's just going to walk forward and have a little chat with Ras al Ghul. Is going to say, "Excuse me, Mr. Ghul, but I think this man is needed for questioning down at the station," and he's just going to arrest that Yang that's unconscious there at the ground, right under the nose of Raz. Seeker just goes and climbs down. He is not the ninja with the climbing shoes. Someone's got him, but Seeker is not him, so that's all he can do this round. Sure enough, Barry Allen does not feel like going to chase down a ninja to try and punch him. He's just going to run back to those medical supplies. We need them to cure some terrible virus Raz has unleashed. And my opponent is out of activations, so I'm going to go and activate Arrow. Arrow can still not see Key, but Goro is still there, and I was lucky that Goro didn't get back up in the recovery phase. He's got an endurance of 7, just dice, again, did not come up for my opponent. So why not take out another standard arrow and execute Goro? Hey, Moral Compass doesn't count for ranged combat. I'm not coup de grace-ing, I'm simply shooting a ton of lethal projectiles into an unconscious person. Oliver Queen's got no problem with it. He fires a bunch of arrows, and yeah, no surprise there. Goro is out. That's too many arrows for Goro. He is incapacitated. So we've got another round to go through. It's only my opponent's counters right now. It's round 4, so we know that League of Assassins is finally going to take the lead. Raz is going to get in there, and he's going to be able to use that sword on my guys. But first we have the Speed Force phase. Flash is going to move in. He's going to do the same thing. He's going to rush over here. He's going to try and beat up Shadow, and he's going to rush back to the objectives on his turn. But of course, first thing first, Super Speed level 1, Super Speed level 2, fast combo and muscle growth. We're going to get this guy. All right, this is it. Raz is surrounded by my guys and a bunch of knocked out ninjas, but this is his time to shine. He's just going to creep forward a little bit. He's going to put 3 attacks into John Diggle. He's going to put 2 attacks into that Arkham Guard. He's just going to do this whirlwind of death around my guys, or that was the idea. After all said and done, after the attacks and after all of the to-wound rolls, and again, all these guys are immune to the sharp rule, Ras al Ghul does no damage. He puts no damage on John. He puts no damage on my Arkham Guards. Oh, it's looking brutal. So this is round 4. Ras al Ghul has done absolutely nothing. You know what? That's it. My opponent calls it. There's really nothing he can do at this point. He's only got a couple of ninjas still conscious. Those cops are going to go on an arresting spree right now. I may never be able to get Raz, but he's not going to make up the victory points that I have right now. He's really left with nothing less. So this was a big victory for me. It wasn't huge. Now, probably wouldn't have called it in like a real big serious tournament. This is pretty laid back because, of course, with ties and all that sort of thing, victory points matter, and if you kind of yield beforehand, then I don't know, something weird happens. But we just called it and counted up the victory points, and that was that. Lance knows that I'm doing YouTube battle reports on this, and he wants to make absolutely sure everyone knows that his dice sucked, and I don't think anyone is going to doubt that. I don't know that with what I was doing, I would automatically lose. I mean, it could have been a close game. I could have won. It's hard to tell how the game was going. But certainly with him rolling the way he did, he just didn't have a chance. He didn't take out any of my guys. It was just ridiculously bad luck. So it wasn't really a game in that sense. It wasn't a is his plan going to succeed against mine? It was really my dice succeeding against his. So that's too bad. I do apologize. I did enjoy the game with him a lot. I do like fighting League of Shadows. I want to get back to using them myself. And hey, it is a tournament, and I will absolutely take it. You know, I will take the win. I like seeing people win. My concern about bringing the Arrow Crew sometimes is because I do like this character. I don't want to play him so badly that he gets just destroyed in a game that I play. And so I am happy to see him and Diggle and to a lesser extent Flash do well. So anyway, I hope you guys like this game. Round 1 of KublaCon is done. Moving on to round 2, I am in a real good position right now. So let me break this down for you a little bit. So there's 3 players, me being 1, 2 players, and then a ringer. So I've won my first game. So for the second game, if I can just draw, even if my opponent wins against the other player, I'm going to take first place. So I'm looking for at least a draw in the next game. If I get a loss, it'll probably come down to victory points and all that kind of thing. But the ringer is always going to give us a win and give us 10 victory points for tiebreakers and all that kind of thing. So the last game isn't going to make that much of a difference. We are going to play it out because I like playing the Batman miniature game. But that's something to look forward to. Next round coming as soon as I can get it. Hope you enjoyed this. Leave comments below if you have any questions or concerns, and I will see you on the next one.